All right, let's just get right into it. Now, I know what you're thinking. That title, it's a bit much, right? But it's not meant to be an insult. It's designed to grab your attention so we can talk about a really powerful psychological trap. A trap that might be the exact reason you feel stuck, whether it's with your finances, your health, or just learning something new. It's a little thing called learned helplessness, and today we're going to figure out how to break out of its grip. I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. Is there some part of your life, maybe your job, a fitness goal, a personal project, where you feel like you are just running on a hamster wheel? You put in the effort, but nothing ever seems to change. And eventually, you kind of just give up. You just feel completely trapped. But what if I told you the reason you feel so stuck has nothing to do with your talent or a lack of opportunity? What if it's because you're living inside an invisible cage, a cage built by your own mind? Now, to really get what I'm talking about, we have to go back in time, back to the 1960s, to a pretty shocking experiment that showed us how this cage even gets built in the first place. So, yeah, this brings us to the work of a psychologist named Martin Seligman. He was actually just studying animal behavior, but what he accidentally discovered would become this huge idea in modern psychology. Okay, so picture this. Seligman sets up two groups of dogs. Both groups are going to get these mild random electric shocks. Now, Group A, they have a lever they can press. And pretty quickly, they figure out, hey, if I press this, the shocks stop. They learn they have control. But then there's Group B. They get the same shocks. They have a lever too, but their lever is a dud. It does absolutely nothing. No matter what they do, the pain just keeps coming. So you see, it's the same physical experience, but a totally different psychological one. But this is where the whole thing gets wild. Seligman then takes both groups and puts them in a new box, a box with a really low wall they could easily jump over to escape the shocks. The dogs from Group A, the ones who had learned they had control, they figured it out almost instantly. But the dogs from Group B, they didn't even try. They just laid down and whimpered, accepting the pain, even when freedom was literally just one small jump away. This absolutely heartbreaking behavior, this act of just completely giving up, is what Seligman gave a name to: learned helplessness. You see, the dogs had learned from their past experience that nothing they did mattered. So when a brand new chance to escape showed up, they were totally blind to it. So what is learned helplessness really? It's that psychological state you get into when you feel so powerless to change something bad that you just stop trying. You've failed so many times or felt so out of control that you internalize this belief that your actions are just pointless. So you stop acting. You literally learn how to be helpless. Okay, and this is the part that really matters for you and me, because this isn't just some quirky, sad story about dogs. This exact same mechanism plays out in our own lives all the time. In our careers, our health, our relationships. This is the invisible cage we were talking about. And to really see how this works in the real world, let's look at a story of two people who go through the exact same bad event. This is going to make the difference between being trapped and being free crystal clear. So let's meet Bob and Lily. They're coworkers, work in the same department, and one day, bam, the company restructures and they both get laid off. Exactly the same situation, but how they react internally, worlds apart. Just listen to the scripts playing in their heads. Bob immediately turns it inward. I'm a failure. He sees it as a pattern that will never end. This always happens to me. And he sees it as a total catastrophe. My career is ruined. But Lily, her internal script is completely different. She sees it as an external thing. The company was restructuring. She frames it as temporary and specific to this one event, not a judgment on her entire life. Let's break this down because it's so important. Bob's mindset has these three toxic ingredients. He thinks the cause is internal, it's all my fault. He thinks the duration is permanent, it's going to last forever. And he thinks the impact is pervasive. It ruins everything in my life. Lily is the total opposite. For her, the cause is external, the duration is temporary, and the impact is specific to just her job. And right there, that's the whole thing. Bob is acting exactly like those dogs in the second group. The way he's interpreting what happened has taught him that he's helpless, so he's just laying down and taking the shock. Lily, though, she's like the dogs in the first group. She still believes she has agency, and she's already looking for a way out. Now, I know this all sounds a little bleak, doesn't it? But stick with me, because this is the most important part of this whole explainer. You see, unlike those dogs, we have this incredible power to recognize our own mental programming, and we can consciously decide to rewrite it. We can escape the cage.
So here is the really good news. You're not just born a Bob or a Lily. This is a learned pattern of thinking. And anything that can be learned, well, it can be unlearned. You can actually train yourself to have a more resilient and effective inner voice.
And it all comes down to a simple but incredibly powerful 3-step process. First, you have to spot your script. The next time something goes wrong, just listen for that inner Bob voice saying, "I'm a failure." Just notice it. Second, you challenge it. You have to argue with that voice. Is it really true that you always fail? Did this one thing really ruin everything? Probably not. And third, you reframe it. You consciously swap out the Bob script for a Lily script. So Bob would spot the thought, "I'm a failure." Then he'd challenge it. Wait a minute, am I really a failure? I did good work at that job. Is my entire career over? Or is this just one chapter ending? And then he'd reframe it. But company changed direction. This is my chance to find a job that fits me even better. That is the work, right there.
What you're doing when you practice this is building something called a growth mindset. This is the absolute antidote to learned helplessness. It's the core belief that you aren't stuck, that your skills, your intelligence, your talents, they're not set in stone. They're things you can grow and develop. It literally rewires your brain to look for opportunities instead of dead ends.
Carol Dweck, the psychologist who pioneered this whole idea, she puts it perfectly right here. The fixed mindset, that's Bob's mindset, it turns every single challenge into a test of your worth. But the growth mindset, Lily's mindset, sees a challenge as a chance to learn and get stronger. One leads to paralysis, the other leads to progress. Simple as that.
And that brings us all the way back to that invisible cage. For those dogs that just gave up, the way out was right there the whole time. And for us, the path forward after a setback, it's always there too. Learned helplessness isn't the lock on the cage. It's the belief that the cage is locked. Your mindset, your ability to rewrite your own script, that is the key that lets you finally see that the door has been open all along. So I'll leave you with this question. Think about that one area of your life where you feel the most stuck. What's the Bob script you've been telling yourself about it? And more importantly, what is the new Lily script that you can choose to start telling yourself, starting right now?